You're listening to the Dibbly-Dobbly podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram.
Mary, our last topic today is talk about umpiring, your specialty. It's very rare to see a current international player take up umpiring at the same time. Usually that happens when you retire, or many international players say, umpiring? Well,
Yeah, no chance.
I'm done with cricket, I'm not umpiring. He wants to stand in the field for 90 overs in a test match, giving people out or not out. But obviously it's a big part of the game.
Yeah.
And why did you go into umpiring? Why made you be fascinated to try umpire?
Yeah, I think sorry, it's stuck on in the door here beside me. I think I had the opportunity when I was coaching. I don't like coaching, by the way. I found that out. But when I was coaching, I had to umpire the games and stuff as well. It's just an underage team. So I think just by the time that I have when I come to Australia in the winter, I actually have time to do it. I can't on my visa, I can't do anything else. So apart from umpiring, so I have the time to actually do it alongside my playing, and I think others are wise and have a job and actually earn some money. So I think it just fits in with my lifestyle at the minute. But I obviously do enjoy it because I could be going off traveling around Australia on the weekends and stuff like that. But I choose to go out and try and ruin people's days on a Saturday instead.
Absolutely, as all umpires do.
Mm-hmm.
On a Saturday or Sunday around Australia and even around the world, whenever you have games of cricket on. So in 2019, you were appointed to the ICC Development Panel of Umpires. What's that experience been like on the panel?
Yeah, it's really good. I've had the opportunity to do men's T20 European qualifiers. So I've been to the Netherlands and I've been to Jersey to do those tournaments. So again, it's just more exposure to different teams, different conditions. Different expectations at an ICC level. So yeah, they're great opportunities. And actually, I think with umpiring as well, it's obviously very solitary, but we go away with a team of 8 or 10 umpires. So you get to meet 8 or 10 different people from around the world. So there's always good banter and good crack outside of the games as well, and there's good networking as well, and just meeting different people. It's really good. I'm actually I'm on the panel with Claire and Eloise here as well, and Eloise is one of my best friends. So that's through umpiring, and it's definitely been worthwhile. But the ICC, it just gives it, it's get more formal, and you've access to more coaching and things like that. So
absolutely. Being an international player, does that help you deal with umpiring international matches, because you've been in that situation as a player and you know how to cope under pressure and have great mental skills to concentrate and focus on every ball?
Yeah, I think it does help. I think you can do it without having played international cricket, but I think knowing, I've played in those ICC tournaments that I've umpired in, so I've obviously played in the women's and I've umpired the men's. I what the expectation is and how the game is run and what's the setup, and it's not like I'm going into this fresh new experience. So I think that helps in terms of just being comfortable in the environment, and certainly doing things like doing Big Bash and stuff like that when there's these superstars. But I've played, and we play in World Cups alongside each other and stuff like that, and I'm used to that kind of environment. So I'm not looking for autographs when I should be umpiring them or something like that, So it's sorry, there's been dogs been strangled on the street there. So yeah, I do think it helps, but again, you don't have to be an international player to be an umpire. But in my experience, obviously it's my experience that has helped.
Yes, I did ask Darryl Harper that question. I said to him when we had him on the podcast last year, he said, I asked him this question. He said to me, there's no advantage of being a past player or who's played the game at the highest level before, like most umpires in the men's game have played for their country and umpire.
Yeah.
He said there's no advantage whatsoever. It's however well you execute your skills and your training at the end of the day. And
I
that's
think
right.
there's just many different pathways to get to the same destination, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. Now,
Daryl's a selector now, so whatever he says, he's absolutely right. Yes,
yes, he is. He is a Cricket Australia umpire selector.
Yeah, exactly.
And an interesting fact for
He's my
people
boss.
sorry?
My boss, yeah.
Yes, he is your boss. Interesting fact with that for people who want to know about that chat that we did is that before we were doing the chat, he said, I'm waiting for a phone call. Had to see if I got the job or not of being selector. And he said, I may need to rush down to Karen Rolton Oval because there was a Shield game on or something. I may need to be there just in case. He said, no, we're good to go. We're all good to have the chat, and we had the chat.
Yeah.
And then he said, well, it's not a full-time role, so I can still play golf and enjoy that stuff. Enjoy my retirement. And when the summer comes around, make the tough calls as an umpire selector for Cricket Australia. He's a brilliant character, Daryl, and one of the great characters in the game, and certainly an umpire. And you must lean on him for advice and mentorship. We talked about that earlier when we talked about playing coaches and people you relied on. Have you asked Daryl about his experiences as an international umpire and got some tips and advice from him?
I actually, do you know what? I've been fortunate. I think we're fortunate in South Australia to have like Steve Davis and Simon Fry and Daryl here. So he's definitely been to a lot of our Secusa meetings. And he'd do presentations about different situations, and I've been on a panel with him. We did a Q&A, so I've heard plenty of his stories, and he's very forthcoming with his knowledge. So yeah, I haven't gone to him, actually picked up the phone and rang him, but I've definitely learned a lot from him for sure.
Absolutely. For anyone who hasn't known yet, that cricket.com.au wrote an article about you a few days ago, which was a brilliant read. I would leave a link to that in the description down below in this episode so people can read it, because it's an interesting read. And pretty much it summed up Mary's journey, and we've already talked about that. But you talked about umpiring men's Premier Cricket in Adelaide. You talked about how being a female umpiring men's cricket, they respond differently to you, if I can put it that way, in terms of behaviour and all that stuff. Yeah. So, and umpiring is such a male-dominated profession. They're so used to having a male there, but then obviously one of the games they have you, so it's a bit different. So how do they respond to you when you're umpiring their games on a Saturday or a Sunday? How do they go about their business?
I think it's fine. Like, I know in that interview, it is definitely it's developed over the years, and I think the guys in Adelaide now know me pretty well, so they're not afraid to give out to me if they don't if they think I've messed up or whatever. But I think, and just from comments, it's more comments from my colleagues being like, there's definitely not as much cursing when you're around, or they're much more polite. So it's not necessarily something that I've picked up on. It's more stuff that the guys say to me, that it's different. So I built up a relationship with the guys in Adelaide. I think, well, not a relationship, but they know they can give out to me like they do the guys if they want. But certainly, like I know I said, I want them to treat me the same, but I can see sometimes whether they turn around and they're just, if I was a guy, they'd say something more serious than what they actually do. But I know it's more from guys that I umpire with, and they'll say, there's less cursing because you're around, or the guys are being more polite and stuff like that. So it's more generally actually from guys that I umpire with, so that's I get the feedback. So, but as I said, a little bit of less cursing is no harm.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, a lot of people do curse when they play cricket. It's such a frustrating game.
Yes, yes. I actually get fined. My team fined me on a Sunday for cursing. So, but I think that's because I'm Irish. It's a different kind of curse.
It's a different kind of curse, of course. No one can detect it because of your accent, so you can get away with it.
Exactly.
But in men's cricket, it's just like over the stump marks, you hear it. Some players, like batsmen, like Travis said, he got fined in the Ashes for saying that. He said, not going to repeat it, but I think
And
everyone knows what he said,
yeah, and it is
and
difficult
rightly,
because, yeah, it's your livelihood and,
yeah,
cricket's such a frustrating sport, but at the same time, you're also a role model for everybody in the world, so it's
that's right.
such a difficult
There's a
position.
lot of young
Yeah,
kids watch cricket, and
yeah,
match referee, he's got a lot of ink in his pen,
yeah,
write his reports. You
yeah,
find under Article something 2.1 or something of the Code of Conduct or whatever.
yeah.
And Mary knows all of the
Appendix
Code of
C.
Conduct off
Yeah,
by heart, I'm guessing.
of course. We just don't have time for me to recite it now, but of course I know it all, yes.
And the playing conditions for ODIs and T20s, men's and women's, which
Mhm.
are two different things
Yes.
for those who don't know. Um, wait, yes. Um, as a player and as an umpire, you have goals and ambitions, as we do in life, that we want to achieve goals and ambitions. In umpiring terms, you set goals and you work a way to get there, little steps to get there. Because when people set out to do this job, they think it's going to happen overnight, but it doesn't. It's just like playing cricket. You've got to work your way up
Mhm.
to the top to be an international umpire. It's just like playing. You either get picked up and selected like a player, and you get your opportunity. And that may be the only opportunity you have for years, and then they select you again. Um, so, Mary, what goals have you set yourself in your umpiring career? Obviously, to umpire international cricket is probably one of them, of
Mhm.
course, and maybe umpire some women's ODIs or T20s, even the odd test match if that happens. But what are some of the goals that you have in store
Yeah.
for your umpiring career?
Well, it's interesting. Like I know I've said before, like I'd love to do a test match and umpire a World Cup final and stuff. But like a World Cup final is so out of my control. I'd have to umpire in a World Cup first and things like that. But I think for umpiring, and you say like there's no point having a goal without a pathway for it. So like my goals are still very much in terms of playing, and once my focus is then on umpiring, um, I can actually, set realistic goals that require steps and can, I can mark them off rather than just having aspirations. Basically, is which they are at the minute. So, I think I'm in a good position. I've done my time in grade cricket here. I made it onto the state panel, which gives me the opportunity to do the higher level games. And in Ireland, obviously, I'm the ICC Development Panel. I'm on our elite panel, which I can do our first class cricket and things like that. So I'm definitely in a good position to keep climbing the ladder and keep ticking boxes. But it's only until I fully commit to umpiring that I'll actually, be able to set a timeline to actual goals. So I haven't
Yeah.
there isn't there I've only aspirations currently. The World Cup final in Eden Gardens in India
I
would
have
be
seen that. I have seen that in articles that you've said you want
yeah,
to umpire a World Cup final in Eden Garden.
yeah. But that's
But that's is that
that's
going
a
to happen? Like you
like
never
to go
know
to
with
the
the
moon.
ICC scheduling these days.
Yeah, exactly. And
Uh,
you have to also umpire in a tournament, to get selected to umpire in a tournament, and then be brilliant in that tournament as well. So, it's
and
yeah,
if your team is not playing in the final,
yes, yeah,
um,
exactly.
that's happened to many great umpires in the men's game,
Hmm.
especially Simon Towfel for one, who
Yeah,
I read his book, Finding the Gaps. I think
yeah,
you can
yeah.
see
And
it on the big show there.
Simon's actually a great mentor.
Yes,
He's
he
mentored
is.
some tournaments,
Have
and
you
he's
spoken to him?
brilliant.
Have you? He's
Yeah,
done some stuff for Cricket Australia over the
yeah,
years. Have you spoken
yeah.
to him
He has.
personally or emailed him or
Yeah,
phoned him
no,
up?
I've
Because he's a
spoken to
very
him.
knowledgeable person
Yeah, no, he's
on
very good,
umpiring.
and he's very good with his time, with his knowledge. He's a very good guy. Yeah, really. Um, he's certainly in early on in my career. He helped me a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely,
Mm,
and he's one of those great people. Simon, obviously,
mm,
you don't win 5 ICC Umpire of the Year awards in a row.
yeah,
For just being a good umpire. He was a very good umpire, one of the best in the business. And
yeah.
then I'll probably have Daryl Harper
Mm.
behind him.
But you're only slightly biased. That's good.
Slightly biased, yes, I
Well, there's
am. Just-
An Irish umpire did the final, the boys under 19s World Cup
yes,
there, Rody Black.
I
So
did see that. Yes,
watch out for the Irish
yes,
umpires
the Irish are
too.
coming, everyone.
Mm. Yeah,
ICC, watch,
yeah,
get more Irish umpires, get Mary on the final or whatever,
yeah.
come on, give her a chance. She's done all the hard work. I say. But we talked about female umpires. You talked about a few names there. Eloise, you must be very proud of her to
Yeah.
umpire that women's test in Canberra. Did you say any words of encouragement to her, or just say,
Um,
go for it, have fun, enjoy it, and
yeah,
make
no,
sure
look,
you do a good job?
I always feel like doing every second text message I think I say, I tell her I'm proud of her, because she's always doing something amazing. But look, if she was a terrible umpire, I'd still be proud of her because she's my best friend. So, but yeah, no, it's great. Certainly with the the DRS, and that was our first kind of big tournament using DRS and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So it's another step um in an umpire career, and she handled it brilliantly. And I think they both did brilliantly on field for the test. Actually, they were under the pump, and they nailed it. So yeah, I was
especially
very
that
proud of
last
them.
day with a lot of appeals, and it's
Lots of
often hard in
appeals.
a
Yeah,
test match. You're under pressure. And they
yeah,
had Bruce Oxenford, who's an
yes,
experienced umpire. Bruce
hmm,
retired in 2021 after the India series. He was part of the
hmm,
ICC for a while.
yeah,
Great to have his experience on the team as well.
yeah,
And he said, I
absolutely.
wanted to continue in domestic cricket to pass on my knowledge, which is very important, to pass on your knowledge and give it to others. And that's what umpiring in cricket's all about, passing on that knowledge. And they would have got valuable information and would have learned a lot from that experience, reviewing the game afterwards,
Yeah,
and just
exactly. Yeah.
enjoying what was a brilliant test match. Also, Claire Poltersack, she
Mm,
was another pioneer in women's cricket in terms of
yeah.
umpiring. She had the opportunity against India last summer, before this one, as fourth
Hmm.
umpire during that test match in Sydney, which was the first time that a female was the fourth umpire of a men's test match, which
Yeah.
was unbelievable. And she's been the pioneer leading that female fight in terms of women's umpiring. And yourself and Eloise, here in Australia, but also around the world. And the ICC Development Panel of Umpires have had some female umpires on there as well. Um, and you would know them very well, of course.
Hmm.
Um, keep in touch and all that, supporting one another. Uh, Mary, how do you see the future of female umpires in cricket?
Um, the future is wonderful. I hope. It's hard to know, to be honest, sometimes because I think decision makers don't really know what to do with us either, to be honest, because they're very much. I'm a weird one because I still play, so I can actually umpire women's international cricket. Well, I don't think I can anyway. I haven't been appointed to any games, but they tend to go the women umpire the women and the men go. So I am actually not too sure. Whereas we're like players, we want to play and we want to umpire the pinnacle of the game.
Yeah.
So we want to go in both ways. So I actually, yeah, it's. I don't know where it's going, to be honest, and it's not an easy one to answer. And I'd say if you asked any umpiring administrator either, they haven't a clue either, because it's certainly new. I mean, I know Claire's been around for a long time, and she's been through the pathway here, and it's kind of she's always done the women's tournaments and stuff like that. But um, she'd be like, well, it's not seen as potentially the pinnacle by the administrators because we're not as a female cricketer. I know that I'm not
Yeah.
treated as it's the best in the world. So why is it only going one way? So I'd like to see women's female umpires go as far as male umpires, and hopefully somebody gets on the elite panel someday. Whether the decision makers in the ICC do that, I don't know, or if they
Mm.
go with a female elite panel, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. That's a tricky one. I
It's
don't know
it's
if
sort
anyone
of
has.
a
Yeah,
bit of a tough question because you can't really predict the future, I suppose. No one
yeah,
can.
yeah.
So it's often hard to predict that far ahead. But do you see a female umpire umpiring a men's test match in the near future?
In the near future, no, but I genuinely can't see why not. I like, there's a lot of angst about it, and you're like, well, there's DRS there. Like, we're humans too. Men are humans. They're,
Mm, yeah,
we're all, as I always say, I'm as deaf and blind as a man. So I'm
yeah,
I'm okay to do it. But I think like there's a lot of player management and match management in that situation and scenario as well, and I understand that. But at the end of the day, if you're getting your decisions, right, you're going to go that far. And if that's what DRS is there for, any big mistake. So there's no harm. It's not like a woman umpiring a game is going to ruin the game because she can't make a decision.
Yeah.
Right. DRS takes that out of the equation. So again, it's a little bit like when Cricket Australia decided to support women's cricket and just go for it, and they just went for it. It's the same. Whoever's in that decision making role just has to go for it, because it's always, you're always told it's done on, on merit, but it's going to come to a point where
Yeah.
it's glaringly obvious it's not done on merit anymore.
Yeah.
That kind of way. So,
Yes.
yeah. So we're somebody brave to
Yeah.
go for it, but also, like we are, as you said, it's a whole new world and it's fresh, and we're still banking up that experience to get us to that level as well. So that's why I'm saying I don't necessarily see it in the near future, but it definitely should happen in the future.
Absolutely. And it's such a tough gig to get into, really, umpiring international test match,
Yeah,
especially
and
men's.
it's a very small group to get into. To be fair, yeah.
It's a very elite panel.
Mhm.
You have to be very good. They have very great umpires, and then you have very good umpires. So there's quite a gap between the two. I heard that once from someone, and it's right, because accuracy ratings, they take that into account as well. Are you good enough? Then you get reviewed after a certain amount of months or year, and then the panel gets rotated on an annual basis, which is good, keeps it fresh, get new people in there, see how they can go at international level. But I do hope that we do see it in the future and break down that barrier of the game, because why not?
Yeah.
Why not a woman can umpire, females test match? Why not can they umpire a men's test
Yeah.
match? Do you see yourself as a role model and a trailblazer for female
Oh,
officials, Mary? Or do you don't see
Um,
yourself as a role model? You see yourself as more as a person who's a female but umpiring?
yeah, to be honest, that's something like I don't overthink it. Like it's just my life, so that's just what I do. I don't go, okay, you get out of bed, you're a role model, that kind of thing. But I guess I am. There's plenty of articles and stuff like that, and you do stick out as a woman when you umpire. There's no two ways about it. You're different, and so people talk about it. So yeah, I guess I am a role model, not necessarily a trailblazer, because it's obviously I'm following people, but yeah, I
Yeah.
guess if you can't see, you can't be, and I'm one of those people that people can see, so I have to accept that.
Yeah. Is that the same as a player as well? Women's cricket, is that the same answer that you'll give for that?
Yeah,
Or is it
I
different?
guess I feel like it's different. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I don't really overthink it, but I guess there's more. Umpires hopefully don't really notice, if that makes sense. You just
Yeah.
kind of get on with your job and get out of there without, being murdered is always good.
Yeah.
But with playing, yeah, I think you can be a bit more, vocal about it and try and inspire people to get into the game and stuff like that. Whereas with umpiring, it's less kind of you're less trying to get. I know you're always trying to get people to umpire and stuff, but you've more more chance of getting people to play.
Yes. Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
yeah, so it is a
Um,
slightly different, and you can go and do an appearance or something. Not that we do them very often, but you could go to a school and be like, I play for Ireland. You come and try the game. Whereas with umpiring, you're not going out and doing
it's
those kind
like,
of things. So it's a slightly different
mm,
form, but it's just more. It just makes it more normal to be a female official when people see you there. So players see it as a norm rather than a new phenomenon, basically.
absolutely. Um, I want to ask you about the umpiring ranks in Ireland. We touched on a bit about this throughout the chat. Are we seeing more people, men and females, take up umpiring roles within Ireland cricket, Mary?
Well, once we got the full membership status, we then had 4 international umpires.
Yeah.
So
And
that
they
was
are
yeah,
on
that
the
was
international.
international panel. Yeah.
For those who
So
don't
that's
know, there's two types of panels: elite and international. You have 4 from your own country on that panel to do home international matches when the elite panel can't do it. Do
yeah.
continue, Mary. Sorry about that.
That's
Bit of a
exactly it. So we didn't have that before. So obviously we have full member status only a couple of years really. So that's that. They they didn't suddenly take it up, but that's the new panel that we have. I don't know actually the numbers. I think there's a I'm saying the numbers are growing, but I've no idea really. I haven't noticed. Um, I haven't noticed greatly, and I think actually COVID hasn't helped a lot of umpires. I know umpires have stopped because of COVID as well. So I think we're probably still in the balance, and officiating is never going to be the most glamorous thing in the world. So it's always going to be an uphill battle with recruiting and stuff like that. So the answer is I don't know, but I've taken a guess there.
Yeah. Well, just say don't know. It's the
Yeah,
future. You don't know what's going to happen.
yeah,
But obviously, coming from a smaller country, obviously the talent varies from country to country. Some countries have good umpires who excel. Other countries are developing, and like other countries, like you don't associate playing cricket with, like those European countries now who
hmm
have T20 status. They have umpires from there who are just learning and developing, which they haven't come from a cricketing background before. So it will take time
it does
before we
take time.
see
Mm,
those umpires break into panels and elite panels,
yeah.
international panels.
And it's more to be honest, it's more the domestic structure, I think, in
Mm,
terms of the coaching. I mean, I'm really fortunate to be in the Cricket Australia pathway, and I get assessed every single game that I do. The match ref does a report on you. You have to do your own report and stuff like that. So those structures just aren't set up. There's not the same level of resources to do in the smaller countries. So but I think like there's lots of associate members on the ICC Development Panel as well. I've umpired with them. So and they'll always send an experienced mentor umpire as well as a match referee. So actually, that mix is really, really good from the ICC. So it gives less developed members, associate members, a chance to umpire and be mentored by more experienced umpires. So that's a really good thing. But yeah, everything takes time, and it really, there's way more Australian umpires because there's just way more Australian people into cricket, and
yeah,
then
pretty
they
much.
naturally filter down, and the pathway is much stronger. The domestic setup is much stronger, so they have
Yeah.
more opportunity to be umpiring higher level cricket as well. So
Yes, and we can thank Simon Towfel for that, because
mhm,
most of what he's implemented, Cricket Australia, basically he created it. Basically, he created
mhm,
everything, even at the ICC as well when he was working there after he retired.
mhm,
So we can thank him. He's one of the pioneers, that's for sure,
mhm.
and a great person in the game. Mary, it's been an interesting chat, and it's been a bit of a marathon, everyone. I do apologise, but it's been very enjoyable. One more point to go before we finish up today, Mary,
Yes.
and some up and coming umpires may be watching this discussion or listening to it, wherever they may
Mhm.
be listening or watching podcast. Wanting to are a bit unsure about how to go about things when they start out umpiring. So, what tips and advice would you give to any young umpire or person starting out in the profession? What advice would you give them to finish up our discussion today?
Never been asked this one before. Well, first of all, I'd say give it a try. Lots of people are like, Jesus, no, I'd hate that. It'd be awful. But you don't know until you try it. It's actually
That's
not
right.
that bad. Yeah. And then if you don't like it, you don't ever have to do it again. So that's my initial one. But obviously, I'm assuming these people want to do it. Um, I know this sounds really boring, but read your playing conditions.
Yes.
Because there's nothing worse. People will ask you what time's lunch and how many overs have I bowled, and so just be prepared for your answers. But what my one piece of advice is trust your instinct. Trust your
Uh,
instinct. If you think that's come off the edge, it probably has. If you think
yeah.
it's if he's inside edged it, but there's still a massive appeal, it's probably come off the inside edge, and it's much easier to sleep at night when you trust your instincts.
That's right. Always trust your gut,
Yeah,
even if you are
absolutely.
wrong. That's
Yeah.
what Simon Towfel said, I think. I read in his book, Trust Your Instincts. And Daryl Harper said the same thing. You got to
Oh,
trust your instincts.
well, I
Even when
must.
I did when I was umpiring, I
Yeah,
said,
I must have been
okay,
listening to them.
yes,
Mm,
I'm trusting my instincts, and players may disagree with that.
Yeah.
But he was umpiring the game. You're there to play, and I'm here to do my
Exactly.
job.
And that's why
And
umpires exist. If players were honest, we wouldn't need umpires.
yes, that's why it's very hard when players umpire their own games, because you always have. I have to do that as well, sometimes as well, because in country cricket where I'm from,
Yeah.
you don't have umpires, and you
I
have to
know.
umpire when you're batting. That's the way
Yeah.
it goes in cricket.
Yeah. I've done that many a time in men's cricket. It's fun. Yeah.
It is fun, especially when your teammates say, "Hang on,
Yeah.
did you fire me?" You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't out. There was a thick inside edge. Are you blind or deaf? I was like, well,
Both.
panicked, okay? I panicked. It's not what you're meant to do. You're meant to be calm, take your time. As one umpire said to me, because an example of me umpiring, it was my first game actually. Super nervous but excited. And I had a senior figure, of course, umpiring it squarely.
Good.
And I gave this LBW off a spinner, clearly in front of the stumps. He was gone. I rose the finger up straight away. I didn't do the Steve Bucknell and Rudy Goodson slow death when he went like that.
Yeah.
I just went bang, straight up like that, you're gone. And he said, well, take your time. You know, I said, well, it was out, so I'm not hesitating. I'm just going to give him out because it was out. But he said, just take your time and just reassess everything. Was it a fair delivery? Did it hit him outside the line or in line with the stumps? Was it an inside edge? And was it going to go on and hit the stumps? As you usually follow the rigmarole when it comes to an LBW decision, and you're taught that. You know, the MCC do a great e-learning course on the laws, where they do have a flow chart about LBWs and how to do that. Often people get confused, and often when people watch cricket, it's easy for us umpires, Mary, who know the laws and playing conditions. Even though I don't umpire international cricket, but I read the playing conditions anyway.
Wow.
Because people who get into cricket don't know the laws fully. And the laws are the standard laws of the game, but playing conditions are an add-on to the laws. So it's very different. And people say, hang on, is it 2 bounces over the shoulder in international cricket and test matches, or 1 in ODIs and T20s, and then it's a no ball? And an interesting fact, Mary, I think you would know this, is when the ball's pitching off the pitch and it's a no ball. But the interesting fact that many people don't know is the pitch is not actually cut to 10 feet.
Yeah, I just go on the grassy bit. It makes your life easier.
Did you know that before I even did that?
Well, if
I did hear that from an umpiring seminar that I watched a few ages ago. They talked about that. They said there's nothing in the laws to say that the pitch has to be cut to 10 feet. It's 22 yards in length, but it's not cut to 10 feet.
Yeah,
if it was cut to 10 feet, it would be a bit more extended.
It's marked, isn't it? Yeah. I think, yeah.
And then, you know, you have to estimate, you know, okay, did it? Not many people know that.
Yeah, I would just keep it simple.
Keep
If
it
it
simple.
hits the real grassy bit.
Cricket's
The
complicated.
only place that'll be tricky if it's in New Zealand, because you can't tell the difference between the wicket and the grass area.
They always produce green tops.
They do.
You know, you have the lines in the field, and then there's the pitch. Where's the pitch? Where the stumps are, mate? That's the pitch.
Where the side
You
screens
played
are.
on this. I'm sure you played on some green seamers in your time.
I have a few. Yeah.
Get caught on a sticky wicket, as we say, a bit wet, seaming around a bit, especially in Ireland, drizzle. Yeah. Miserable weather to play.
Miserable. Cricket. Actually, Scotland's been the worst for that, to be fair. I've played
you know, England's worse.
Abysmal weather in Scotland. Yeah.
Well,
hi everyone, hope you enjoyed hearing Mary's umpiring journey. It was fascinating talking to Mary about her umpiring journey and how she got started in umpiring and then eventually umpiring at the international level on the ICC Development Panel of Umpires, leading the way for female officials within the game of cricket. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell to get the latest episodes of the podcast, and like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Most of the podcast is now available on Anchor, Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, keep safe and bye for now.